Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We're building a deck again for Eurocorps, doing unit comparisons with Bikefish, and we're spending a second day in the Logistics tab for one very particular reason, and that reason is supply trucks. So, Bikefish, do you want to talk about a little bit of the choices you have here and what you might take?
Yeah, sure thing. When it comes to supply truck usage in general, due to the cost efficiency and the per point supply value, a 20 point or a 30 point supply truck is always going to be kind of your best option if you have it available outside of more specific niche scenarios, which you can explain. Um, since we're playing a coalition containing West Germany, we happen to get access to both a 20 pointer and a 30 pointer. So I just wanted to take a second and kind of talk about the difference between these and why you may want to choose one or the other. This is the first place that we're really coming to a what I like to call comfort pick, in that there isn't a wrong answer here, but you kind of have to play around with both options and see what feels more comfortable for you.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the specific differences. And the first one I want to mention and get your thoughts on is actually the availability. So for the 20 pointer, you get 8. For the 30 pointer, you get 6. And when that availability difference combines with the amount of supply, I think you still get more supply overall with the Mencop 1, but you have more opportunity to bring it in with the VLKV Jupiter. So does that factor in, like, how do you really use these differently given the availability and amount of supply differences between them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so in my experience, the amount of supply doesn't really matter in Eurocore, because under most introductory setups for Eurocore, you're going to be taking a fog. So you have this nice big bucket of supply that you can keep coming back to, and so we can kind of focus on some of the other aspects of what makes these vehicles different. The first thing I really want to call your attention to, excuse me, really want to call attention to here, though, is something you mentioned with only having 8 versus 6, and that is their strength value. For those who don't know, strength represents the HP of the vehicle. And as you can see, we have a 5 point difference here. What this means is the Mancat is so much more durable against indirect fire because it has 10 HP over 5. It means if you do have to put it in a position where it's getting mortared or something like that, it's less likely to catch a stray compared to the Jupiter and suffer serious damage. Because these are both unarmored vehicles, there's no way they're going to survive any sort of direct hit. But just having that little bit of extra damage resistance via HP can be nice.
So
Additionally,
I
oh,
want
go
to
ahead.
ask you about the speed as well, because I don't think we've mentioned that so far. And 90 versus 70, is that relevant?
It is. Especially when we're talking about getting supply deep into forest, because forest will interact with movement speed in a way that means the higher starting value you have, the better. Um, So as you're going through, it is definitely a difference that comes up. Now, one thing that we don't see on the supply cards that may make a difference between these is that when you have multiple supply vehicles in a certain location, if they're both working to repair or rearm something, it will rearm slightly faster the more vehicles there are near it. It's easier to hit that threshold with the Jupiters than it is with the Mancats, just because of that cost and availability.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is if I have two Jupiters parked next to each other versus one Mencot 1, the Jupiters will spend their supply faster, therefore resupplying, rearming, healing the units in the vicinity quicker.
I'm not exactly sure that's how the mechanic works, but it is when you have like overlapping supply zones, it does go a little bit quicker. So
Interesting.
I'm not sure if they're spending it at a different rate, or just two of them spending it at the same rate,
Yeah,
but it
sorry.
is it is something you kind of aim
Two of
for.
them spending at the same rate for a combined higher rate. That was my understanding of it.
Mm.
But as with many things in Wargame, it's a little bit of black magic, so this is sort of our best guess. Which, hopefully it works. I take the Mouncat one, and if you said this is a comfort pick, I don't think we necessarily have to give a solid recommendation, but I do want to mention we didn't really talk about the 15-point VLRA. Why is that?
So 15 point supply trucks sit at a much more inefficient point on the price per supply cost point. So when you have something like this, what you're really doing with it is either you don't have any better options, such as if you're playing US and we're talking the difference between a 15 and a 40 pointer, or you're intentionally playing a deck that is inherently going to be so spread out that having the additional availability to go and rearm smaller groups of units in many different places is going to really play into it. Additionally, when we're looking at the VLRA, you'll note that that off-road speed is only 60 kilometers an hour. So for all the things where we were talking about the Jupiter versus the Mancat in terms of how that off-road speed makes a difference, the VLRA is going to be hit harder by all of that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that'll wrap up discussion of the resupply trucks for now. And we'll be back with you guys tomorrow with the infantry tab.